All right. Okay. I'm gonna make it. I'm making the 7th grade video. I'm doing equivalent expressions right now. So you can't answer this because it doesn't say what it is, this expression. But you can simplify it. You can make it easier to read. This is a larger version of what I'm about to do. So the first thing you have to notice is that you can do distributive property. This is a positive 2. So I'm going to distribute that positive 2 to both of these. So now the 3n comes down and stays exactly the same. But positive 2 times the 1 gives you a positive 2. A positive 2 times a negative 4n, that's going to give you negative 8n. Okay, this can still be simplified because some things have the same variable. Okay, if they have the same variable, that means they can be combined, put together. So right here I have a 3n, and I'm adding it to a minus 8n, which will end up with a negative 5n. And then you bring down the 2, and you're left with negative 5n plus 2. This is equivalent to the first one. So is the second one. This one's also equivalent. So if you know how to go from the largest version all the way to the smallest version, you'll see all of the equivalent expressions being created. Okay? Now, the perimeter of a rectangle where the width is 4 plus 2y and the length is twice that. Okay, so if you're thinking of it, here is the rectangle. This is 4 plus 2y, 4 plus 2y, and this one's double, so it's 2 times 4 plus 2y, and this one's 2 times 4 plus 2y. Okay, so we have to find the perimeter, which is just adding up all these. So one of the formulas that you could do, now you could just add them all up in a straight line, okay? But if you notice, 4 plus 2y is happening twice here, once here, and once here. So 2, 4, 6. It's happening 6 times. So now we're going to have 6 times 4 plus 2y. So all you have to do is multiply 6 times 4 and 6 times 2y. You're left with 24 plus 12y. It could be written like this, or 12y plus 24. Any of those two will be fine. Okay? So this is the original, and this is equivalent to that. Okay? It's also equivalent to adding up 4 plus 2y over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? Hopefully you notice that I'm multiplying the 6 with the 4 and the 6 with the 2y. What about 2 minus 6x is the length of one side of a square? What is the perimeter? So this is all 4 sides of the square. 2 minus 6x, and it's repeating all the way around. So 2 minus 6x, the way you can write the equation is 4 times 2 minus 6x. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times negative 6x is going to be negative 24x. And that's it. This is an equivalent expression to the top, okay? And that's how you find the perimeter. Remember, perimeter is just adding up all the sides of a shape. Okay, I'm going a little fast, and I'm just doing some examples of each section that I was asked for. Okay, this is the first one here. Write an expression. So a store marks up the stuff 30%. Write 2 expressions and show their equivalent. Okay, so 2 expressions. So the first expression I'm going to write is the one that I would do, is I would multiply the original times 1.3, and that will give me the answer I'm looking for. So that's an expression right there. The other expression I have is the original plus whatever 30% is of that added to it. Okay? Now I can prove these are equal to each other, equivalent, by simply simplifying this one, because you can't simplify this one anymore. So simplifying this one will do it. These have the same term, so you can add them. Well, Mr. Kessler, you're just going to get 0.3x. No, there is an imaginary 1 in front of this. So 1 plus 0.3 is going to leave me with 1.3x, which is equal to 1.3x. So they're both equivalent. Okay, I wrote the expression in 2 different ways, but both of them are correct. This is just a more simplified version of that one. Okay? Write 2 perimeter equations for the rectangle. Now here, you could write w plus 1/3 plus w plus 1/3. But if you notice, you're doing del u plus 1/3 twice. So you could write it like this, 2w plus 1/3, and you'll equal the same conclusion. You'll have the same conclusion. Now here, at the bottom here, we have which equals 8x minus 16. So we have four different versions here, okay? And we're going to find out which one equals 8x minus 16. So this one, I got to do the distributive property. 2 times 4x is going to give me 8x, and 2 times 16 is going to give me 32. That is incorrect. Now, sometimes when people don't do the distributive property completely, they would think it was the right answer because they would just do the first thing and then they think they're done. Remember, there's parentheses around this entire thing. Now here, you are adding this binomial with this binomial, or this parentheses with that parentheses, right? Which is really the same thing as 2 of these. So you could write it like this, 2 times 4x minus 8, right? Or you could just combine like terms, okay? So 4x, can't add with anything in here, but it can add with something over there. So 4x plus 4x will give me 8x. And minus 8, or negative 8, plus negative 8 will give me negative 16. This one is actually correct. What about this one? Here's another example of combining like terms. 2x plus 2x plus 2x plus 2x is 8x. And 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, that gives me 16. That's also correct. What about this one? I'm going to distribute the 8 to both ones. So 8x minus 16. That one's also correct. Same as the top. Okay, so those are multiple versions of writing the exact same equation. But simplifying means combining all the like terms, doing all the distributive properties until there is nothing left other than one of these and one of these. Okay, one with x and one with no x, or no variable. Okay? You could have y or z there, but you have to be left with one of each. If there was 7y in this equation, then you'd have to be left with one 7y. You can't have another 7y somewhere in the equation. It has to be one of each. Okay, let's look over here. Okay. Here's another example. I buy a shirt for $13 and socks for $2.50 each. The total is $25.50. How many socks did they buy? Okay, so if you know you spent $13, right? Plus, you know you spent $2.50, but you don't know how many socks you have, right? So $2.50 times socks. If I bought 2 socks, it'd be $5, 3 socks, $7.50, so on and so forth. But my total was $25.50. All right, so now we have to think, okay, first thing I have to do is subtract. I have to leave this x by itself. Okay, so we want this x by itself. So if I expand this box a little bit more, it's going to include this plus 250, this positive 250. And then if I make it just a little bit larger, we're going to be finding the 13. So there's three boxes, big giant box, this little box, and this is the final box. This is where our present is. It's one of those gags where you slowly get closer to the actual gift. So we're going to get rid of the furthest thing. So not this one, this one. We're getting rid of the 13. How do you get rid of the 13? You subtract 13 on both sides. You see I'm lining up the decimals? So I'm left with 250x equals 1250. Then, now I'm left with a positive 250. So if this was a minus, I would bring it down. But this is a positive, so it's easily represented the way it is. So now I have to get rid of the 250 because it's in the second box. We're trying to leave this. This is our gift. X equals is our gift. So we're trying to get rid of 250. What's the opposite of what is happening with the 250? Right now, it's multiplying. So I'm going to divide it by 250. That's going to cancel and leave you with 1x, which means x is all by itself. But whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. Divide by 250, that's going to make 5. All right? Now, this one. Here, you have to distribute first. Okay, distributive property first here, because you can't do anything inside here. An x cannot combine with a 5/3, but the 3/5 can distribute. So that's what it's going to do. So here I'm going to be left with 3/5 plus 1. Now, if you're wondering how this became 1, 3 over 5 times 5 over 3 is going to equal 15 over 15, which equals 1. Equals 10. So now we have to subtract 1 on both sides. Remember, this here, this is the little gift, and then over here and over here. So the 1 is the furthest, so I'm going to get rid of it by doing minus 1. Minus 1. So now I'm left with 3/5 x equals 9. So how do I get rid of 3/5? I multiply by 5/3. Mr. Ketcher, so I thought you're supposed to do the opposite all the time. It's multiplying with the x. Why are you multiplying again? Well, I'm not multiplying. I'm dividing. I divided 3/5 by 3/5, which is keep, change, flip, which is multiplying with 5/3. So I'm still dividing. So x equals 9. You have to multiply by 5/3 now. So that's going to make 9 times 5 is 45. And 45 divided by 3 is going to be 15. So x equals 15. I'm talking too fast. I apologize. There's a lot of material I have to do here. So this is an isosceles triangle. Two sides are the same. One side is different. Okay. The perimeter is 54. They want me to solve for x. So I know that if I combine all of these, it has to equal 54. So I'm going to write it in a straight line. So it's 3x minus 2. And I'm going to add it with 3x minus 2. And then I'm also going to add it with 2x plus 2, and that has to equal 54. So let's put some stuff together here. So 3x plus the 3x plus the 2x is going to give me 8x. And the minus 2 plus the minus 2, that's negative 4, plus the positive 2, that's going to give me negative 2, is going to equal 54. Now I'm going to add 2 to both sides, because that's the furthest from the x. That's going to leave me with 8x equals 56, divided by 8, divided by 8, x equals 7. So x equals 7. I can double check this by putting the 7 into each equation, and then just adding up the sides. It should equal 54. Okay, here we go. Some more complicated questions. I make 2 sandwiches for each student, then make 3 more just in case. I make no fewer than 49 sandwiches. How many students do I have? Students. So I'm making I make no fewer than 49. So 49 is the bottom number. Okay, I won't make 49, I'll make 50, I'll make 51, I'll make anything as long as 49 is the fewest. Okay, so I know that I'm making 2 sandwiches for each student. So 2 times x plus 3 more just in case. And the answer and this is going to be greater than or equal to 49. Because it can equal 49. But the amount of sandwiches cannot be fewer than 49. So it can be greater. So now I solve this just like an equation. I'm going to get rid of the 3 first because it's farthest from the x. The 2 is right next to it. So right here. Now when I say furthest from the x, it means on the same side as the x, obviously. So here I'm going to subtract 3. Subtract 3. Now I'm left with 2x is greater than or equal to 46. Then I'm going to divide by 2. Divide by 2. And x is greater than or equal to 23. So there could be 23 kids in a class, or 24, or 25, or 26, but it has to be 23 or greater because I'm making the fewest I'm making is 49 sandwiches. So my brother and I have less than $18. Here's another equation with inequality. These are called inequalities, by the way. So if they say inequalities, this is what they're talking about. The greater than equal to sign or the less than equal to sign. My brother and I have less than $18 cash. If I have twice as much as my brother, what is all possible solutions for how much my brother has? So my brother and I have less than $18. If I have twice, I have twice my brother. So my brother is X, and I have twice as he does. And we are still less than $18. So these can combine like terms. Before we do anything, we have to combine like terms. There can't be two x's here, so it has to be only one. So if I add that up, 2x plus 1x, that leaves me with 3 x's is less than 18. Divide by 3, divide by 3, x is less than 6. And that's the answer for that one. Okay, here's this one. Now here, same thing. I can't start until I've shrunk. There's a number here and a number there. So that means I can do distributive property. I can't combine like terms inside of the parentheses because this has a variable and this does not. So now I'm left with negative 64x minus 48 is greater than 72. Okay? Then I'm going to add 48, and then I'm going to add 48. That's going to be 8, which will make 80, and then 4 more, so that's 120. So negative 64x is greater than 120. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 64. Now, with inequalities, anytime that you're dividing both sides or multiplying both sides by a negative sign, it causes the sign to change direction. So, I'm dividing by negative 64, dividing by negative 64. So, x is now less than the solution of 120 over negative 64. Okay? So, I'm going to simplify this, cut it in half. X is less than 60 over 32. That can be cut in half again. This is also negative. X is less than negative 30 over 16. Again, can be cut in half. X is less than negative 15 over 8. And I think that's where we're going to leave it for right now, just because I ran out of space. That's if you can see this. Okay.